All right, we're looking at solving quadratics by factoring today. Um, Really, what this is a bunch of ideas that we've already learned, kind of combined together. And this is like probably the way. I mean, you guys have got to be able to factor, but solving quadratics by factoring is probably one of the quicker ways um, to solve these things. So what we're going to first do is we want to make sure our equation is set equal to 0. Again, remember what we're trying to do is find out what values I can plug in for x, that when I plug that in, it'll give me 0 in this case. That'll make this equation correct. So what I want to do is take this left-hand side, just the left side, and I want to factor that. And remember we did this about a week or so ago when we factored. So, but just a reminder, what we're going to first do is we're going to times a and c together. So I'm going to times this 1 here by 3, and that'll give me 3. And then I'm looking for two numbers that will multiply to 3 and that will add to my middle number, -4. Again, I need to add to -4. So the only two values that'll do that would be -3 and -1. Again, if I multiply those, that gives me a +3. If I add them, it gives me a -4. And then if you remember, what we do is we put them both in parentheses, like so. And then I have to divide this 3 by 1 because I have to divide it by a, but dividing 3 by 1 doesn't change it, and dividing by 1 by 1 doesn't matter. So after I find my two numbers, I have to divide it by a, but those do not matter. So this is my factored form, and then I put my equals to 0. This should look very similar to our zero product property that we've already done as well. And so once I've got it to this form, I just can say, okay, well, x minus 3 is equal to 0, or x minus 1 is equal to 0, which means I'd have x equal to 3 and x equal to 1 in that case, because I'd plus the 1, and that would give me 1. So those would be my two solutions. And again, if you want to check them, you could plug 3 in, and it's going to give you 0 there. Okay. So again, we're combining our zero product property with our factoring rule here, and that's how we go about solving these things. So, so I'm going to do that same thing with this one. I'm going to times a and c together, which gives me -48. And then I need two numbers that will multiply -48 and add to -2. So if I'm looking for those values, it's going to be 6 and 8, but I need to make one of them negative. If I make the 8 negative, then when I add them together, it'll give me -2, which is what I want. And I times them, it gives me -48. When I add them, it gives me -2. Then I divide by a. Again, divide by a. If I divide by 1, it still gives me the same number. It does not change. So then I put them in my parentheses. So this will be x plus 6 and x minus 8. And then I drop down the equals to 0. And then I use my zero product property to say that x plus 6 is equal to 0, or x minus 8 is equal to 0, which means when I go to solve this, x is going to be equal to -6, or it's going to be equal to +8 in that case. Okay, so if you know how to factor, this actually should be pretty slick today. Let's look at a couple. There's a couple variations here. If you notice something about this equation is it's not set equal to 0, so I'm going to move everything to the left, what I call Beyonceing the equation. So I'm going to add 5x, and I'm going to add x squared to the other side, and then I'm going to put it in standard form. Again, I'm adding, adding 5x here and adding x squared here as well. And so I'll have x squared plus 5x plus 4, and that's all equal to 0. And then I will factor that. I times a and c together, that gives me 4. So I'm looking for two numbers to multiply to 4 and add to 5. If I go with 1 and 4, those will add up to 5. Again, I have to divide those by a, which is 1, which does not change that. So this will be x plus 1 and x plus 4. And I put that equal to 0. Use my zero product property, which is going to just say that x plus 1 has to equal 0, or x plus 4 has to equal 0, which means when I subtract the 1 and subtract the 4, that'll mean x is equal to -1 and -4 in this case. Okay. 2 more here. So again, I've got to make sure this is set equal to 0. That's the one big thing about these two is you have to set them equal to 0. So I'm going to minus the 51x over here so that I have 21x squared minus 51x and then minus 36. Whenever I have this big of numbers, I always look to see if there's a greatest common factor. Like we did before, we want to take out a greatest common factor. 3 goes into 21, 51, and 36. So I'm going to divide each of those and then just put the 3 on the outside. This will become 7x squared. This will become 17x. And then this will become 12 here. Okay. Why I do that again is because it just makes my life a little bit simpler when you start timesing those values together. Okay, so I'm going to change color here, but what I want to do is I'm going to now take A and C. I don't care about the 3 outside. I just care about this inside, and I want to factor that. So I'm going to times A, which is 7 now, and C, which is negative 12 together. And I'm going to look for, I'm going to find my 2 numbers, okay? And so for this one, when I times those 2 together, I get negative 81, or sorry, 84, not 81. So I'm looking for 2 numbers that when I multiply them together, they will give me 84, and when I add them, it'll give me 17 in that case, okay? And so, yeah, that's what we're looking for here, okay? So you got to think of multiples of 84. Again, this is a lot smaller than if I would have had to times 21 and 36 together. That would have sucked, but that's why I tried to take out a greatest common factor. But for this one, if I do 21 and 4, and then I'm going to make the 21 negative so that I get a negative 17 here. So again, I times A and C together, got a negative 84. Looking for 2 numbers to multiply that and add to negative 17. That'd be these 2 numbers. And then don't forget, you do have to divide by A. This one does change a little bit, so I'm going to divide by 7 on this one. And then simplify this simplifies negative 3, and then the 4/7 does not simplify. Then I write my factors, so this will be x minus 3, and then this will be, so if I have this, it's actually x plus 4/7. Okay, but remember, I can put the 7 out front of the x here, and so I can take this 7, and it can become 7x plus 4. And that's all equal to 0, and then I can drop the 3 down as well. Okay, and then I just solve this, or if you remember, 3 will never equal 0, so I don't need to even worry about that one. But then I have the x minus 3, and then I have equals to 0, and then I have this 7x minus 4 equals to 0. When I go to solve these, I'm going to add my 3 over, so I'm going to have x equals to 3 for the one. And then this other one, I'm going to add the 4. If you guys look, I have to add the 4 and then divide by 7. So that would be positive 4 over 7 would be my solution for that one, on that one. So again, I've got 3 and then 4/7 for that one. So a little bit more involved just because of how you have to factor on that one. So, but everything else is pretty similar. Let's do one more like that, where you have to factor like that. So again, if I look at this, I've got to have this equal to 0, so I got to minus the 12 over, so I'd have 12x squared plus 32x, and again, I always put it in standard form just because it makes my life a little bit simpler that way. Okay, and then I have 12 and 12. I'm going to try to make those a little bit simpler, and so I can actually 4 goes into all of these 12 and 32. So I'm going to pull a 4 out, which when I do that, I divide that. That'll give me 3x squared. This will give me 8x, and again 3 here. And then I go ahead and I times my new a and my new c together, so 3 and 3, which will give me negative 9. And I'm looking for two numbers that will multiply -9 and will add to 8 here. So again, you think 3 and 3, but that doesn't work. So it's got to be 1 and 9. And then I've got to make one of these negative. I'm going to make the 1 negative because that'll give me a +8 when I add them. And then don't forget, you've got to divide. You got to divide by a. So divide by 3. This doesn't simplify. This just stays at -1/3, and then this simplifies to 3. Those are my two values. I can write my factors. I'm going, again, this is x minus 1/2, but I can just go 3x minus 1 because I just put the 3 up. And then I'll have x plus 3 for the other factor. I can drop the 4 down, and then I can put the equals 0 here. And then I'm just going to write each of them separate. So 3x minus 1 has to equal 0, or x plus 3 equals 0. Again, I don't need the 4 because that's not going to help me with anything. On this one, I'm going to add the 1 over and then divide by 3. So I'm going to add 1 and then divide by 3. So this will give me 1/3. And for this one, I'm just going to minus 3 over, which will give me -3. And those will be my answers right there. Okay? All right, so that's solving quadratics by factoring. You guys have got to be able to do this. This is pretty important going forward. So, all right, this has been your math moment with your mom. Bye.